All right, let's go back to Lesotho for more on the election results. Let's welcome our correspondent there, Nthakoana Ngatane. Nthakoana, a very good afternoon to you. Have all the constituencies been counted? And what can you tell us about the eagerly awaited results at this stage?
Good afternoon, Alicia. Yes, all the constituencies have now been counted. Less 3 where candidates died just before the election. So there, the constituency vote was declared failed, but the ballots were taken for the national vote, that is for the proportional representation. So out of the 77 that have come through as the final vote, SABC or Lesotho Convention, former Prime Minister Thom Thabane's party gets 47. Democratic Congress, the Prime Minister's party, gets 26. And the other 4 are distributed among Lesotho Congress for Democracy, Movement for Economic Change, Popular Front for Democracy, and Alliance of Democrats. Now, Alliance of Democrats and Movement for Economic Change are very new parties, one formed in January and another one in February. So in a space of 3-4 months, they have now gone from nothing to third in the country because they have now surpassed parties that have been around, like your Basotho national parties of Lesotho. Alicia, what I can tell you also is that in terms of numbers, the Lesotho Convention has gone up from the 215,000 that it got of the national vote up to 237,000, while the Democratic Congress, because they went into a pact where they only fielded candidates in 54 constituencies, they have lost, Alicia, from 218,000 votes nationally to 150,000. We have yet to hear how they feel about that. Alicia?
Nthakoana, are these the final results now? And have there been any disputes to the results by any contesting parties?
No, Alicia, these are the final results in terms of the constituency vote. But remember that we're now waiting for the Independent Electoral Commission to allocate the other 40 seats of parliament. Okay. These are the ones that will be allocated on a proportional but compensatory basis. So in other words, those parties that have constituency seats but also have the national vote will get lesser seats than those who don't have constituency seats but have a higher vote nationally. So it's a complicated formula that the IEC uses. It sits with all representatives of political parties and they agree and then publish the final result. Alicia?
Yeah, no, it's all very confusing then, Nthakoana, but please, can you take us through what is expected to happen then as soon as the results are in terms of the handing over of power and so forth, bringing in the new administration? How's that going to fan out?
Well, Alicia, what's going to happen now is that after the Independent Electoral Commission publishes the final results in terms of how many seats each party gets in the National Assembly of 120, we then expect parties to tell us who they think will then make government. And the parties that are going to make government have to at least have 60 seats plus 1, that is 50% plus 1 majority. Then they will form government and then we will see them naming a prime minister candidate who will then be sworn in and we will have a big inauguration in Lesotho. Alicia?
All right. And what are the Basotho saying on the ground in Nthakoana after casting their votes and now eagerly waiting those final results?
Well, the Basotho Convention is already celebrating, Alicia. As far as they're concerned, they feel that they've already won because even before the election, they already had an alliance. But Metsing coming out yesterday to say that, in fact, they might try and woo Munyane Moleleki and Sidibe Muchoborwane. But Moleleki's people have said it's not even possible that they will go back to an alliance with the Democratic Congress or Lesotho Congress for Democracy because it was a matter of principle that they broke away from those parties.
A very quick one, Nthakoana, before I let you go. I mean, Thom Thabane being in the forefront during these early counts of the voting results. I mean, any statements from him, I mean, from going into hiding, into exile, and then coming back and being triumphant like that, any statements from him or his party at this stage?
I tell you what, the only person we're able to speak to is the party representative here at the results center because we are still waiting that final result. But the first person we speak to from here will be Thom Thabane to hear what he has to say. But the party representative obviously elated, saying that in fact they got less than what they wanted, that in fact they were looking to get an outright majority because they believe that the Basotho have the trust in the Basotho Convention.
All right, and very quickly, Nthakoana, I know we're out of time. When it comes to this issue now of the non-clarity of power between the police and the army, I mean, the winning party has certainly got a huge task on their hand to try and rectify this situation. How have any of these parties proposed that they're going to deal with this matter?
Alicia, you remember that all the parties have signed a pledge to implement the reforms, constitutional reforms, security sector reforms, judicial reforms, and public sector reforms post-elections as a priority, to convene a multi-stakeholder dialogue to ensure that all parties and all stakeholders are included in the conversation to redrawing the constitution of Lesotho. So they expect that that is an exercise that will address those concerns. But of course, President Chisano, former president of Mozambique, says that in fact the electoral model should also be looked at because it is the one that is producing all these unstable coalition governments, and saying that especially floor crossing in parliament is a big issue. And also Foreign Minister of Tanzania, Augustine Mahiga, saying to us that the fact that the threshold for parties is so low and that the IEC actually gives parties money to campaign is probably another incentive that's making Lesotho have so many parties and having so many breakaways because people are looking to access that money from the IEC.
All right, Nthakoana, will definitely touch base with you as soon as the IEC releases those final results. That is Nthakoana Ngatane on the line to us from Maseru, the Lesotho capital, with election results updates. And of course, Thom Thabane's party leading there with all the constituencies have been counted with a whopping 47%, followed by the CM at 26%.